Hi guys, I'm Jan. You're watching Initiate ID, and this is a bit of a two-part video. It's a bit of apology, and it's also a makeup video. So, I purchased a computer online, customized it, and all that fun stuff, and I ordered it last week. It was supposed to come in today, but due to 2 days of delayed shipping, one, it missed the plane, and two, it had to go through customs and all that fun stuff. I'm unable to do the review because it's still in China. So, to make up for that, I'm doing a makeup review video, and this is what we'll be reviewing for today. So today I'll be one of the first people to review this Figma, and be the first one to do it in English, and let alone the first person to do it on YouTube, to review one of the latest versions of the Figma figure. This is Figma 127, and the character was initially debuted in Sengoku Rance, but now we have it in Rance Quest. This is, like I said, Figma 127, and this is Uesugi Kenshin, and looks like we'll be playing around with this one. So, thanks for watching. Let's get on with the review. Alright, so let's get to the unboxing. Well, not really anything to unbox the box from, of course. So we're going to use my handy dandy butter knife, and we're going to open the box. And can open the little stickers we have there. And hopefully it should open without any form of rips. So let's actually go through around the box. Actually, I got a bit ahead of myself there. So the front of the box, it tells you the name of the character, Uesugi Kenshin, and product number 127. It's the latest line. It did come out last March 2012. So the front, it gives you pretty much all the accessories here. You have the faces on them, but we'll go into that in a bit. The top, another pose from the character using one of the faces. Product 127. Side, another different pose of the character. The back, we have an assortment of images, collage images, featuring the character in the custom pose that you normally see on product guides online, and all that fun stuff. Right side, the standard Figma logo, and on the bottom, same thing as pretty much on the top. So, let's get to opening the box. So, first things first, let's take out the box. Let's take out the staging cardboard that comes in, and it features the Rance Quest, which normally some people thought this was supposed to be branded with the Sengoku Rance, but obviously it's in Rance, so we'll see it. There's a different stand here, and I normally don't like to take out the stand. Like, you can't take out the stand. This is perforated, so it is meant to muff to some extent, but I won't do that. So setting this back into its box, we have the standard Figma stuff, and you know, Figmas come in their little plastic cases, and this one is something I don't keep in the plastic case. So let's take this apart. Shoot, I'm trying my best not to lose anything. Alright, so let's go around to the different parts here. We have our standard Figma Ziploc bag, which is useful for holding all the accessories that it does come with it. And we also have here more plastic. So let's go through a bit of the accessories that it does come with. I don't want to lose anything, so I'll be putting things back into their slots on the plastic thing. Okay, so four things rather. We have the different swords that it comes in. This is plastic over that too. More garbage. So we have four different weapons rather here that will be useful for the character itself. We have its sword in its scabbard, its sword unsheathed, a rather large knife or some sort, and then we have one with a bit of the slashing effect on it. We also have a giant rice ball. That's always a fun inclusion there. Looks like we'll be having a lot of poses with that. Opening this pouch, these pouches, we have, we have the different parts and tells you instructions when it comes in. So that's all simple bag. And it's time to open these fine parts. So let's let me open this a bit. It's a plastic bag, and I'll show you what's inside it. So it comes with our standard Figmas things. We have our Figma stand. we have the three jointed stand holder, so it'll be fun, all nice stuff. And then we have the large assortment of hands, and I believe there are two on the actual product itself. So we have large assortment of hands for different gestures and whatnot. And also included in the package we have three different faces. I believe the product has one already on, so I don't worry about that. So we have two different faces, and then the third one that was actually on the actual figure itself. And I think I go in a bit detail into different ones. You can see this one, hopefully autofocus can get it real quickly. So this one's a bit of a depressed expression here. Yeah, autofocus better. And then we have one of a serious tone, autofocus. There we go. And then we have one of an even more serious tone. There we go. Now I know how to use autofocus now. And so I'll put the rather simple one on there. And then we actually have the figure itself. So let me get to taking off all the plastic that it comes with. Plastic set aside. Oh, and we also have just throw a scramble away. Now, there's a lot of cool things with this Figma that I'm just noticing right now as I remove plastic from here. I don't know if it was supposed to remove. Some things don't look like they remove, so I'm not going to try with it. If I tell you any more features, I'll put in the description. So, and these are the things I don't keep. Okay, so it's kind of a last minute video. I'm supposed to get off in a bit, so anyway. And we have the figure itself. So far what I'm looking at is it's pretty well articulated. Let's go through a bit through the features. The head actually has two different hairstyles. You have the one with the helmet itself, and then you have also the option of taking it off. I could just get this to go in. Just great. I don't want to force it either. I don't think it goes any further. So now we have Uesugi Kenshin figure. Hopefully the autofocus would be a bit more reactive. So we have the two different hairstyles, one with the helmet and one without. And we have our assortment of hands that we can use with it. Now let's go do a quick rundown of the figure itself. The head, as you know, we have three different expressions, and we have the option of removing the top of the head. I'll just be able to adjust this down. And going around, we could look at the different hairstyle. The hair has three different parts to it, so it does allow you to do different things for different effects and flexibility. Apparently the two different parts of hair does have a joint to them, so you are able to turn it for different effects if you need to move, especially if you need to access the back for the input of the stand itself. So that's always cool. Now the arms are pretty well articulated. I suppose that they do have the armor, which does restrict it to a bit extent, but the detail is great. Even behind it, you can see all the detail around the figure itself. So the arms are on a ball joint, so they're able to move around. The arms are only able to arm elbows itself. I don't think it can physically move their elbows. It can only go forward and backwards, so that's all good. The wrist does have a joint at its end, so it's able to go forward, backwards, left, right, and on stuff it can rotate. And I don't think anyone really changes anything. There is no chest joint, however there's a hip joint allowing the hip to turn a full 180 degrees. Yes, it is. And that's pretty cool. Now the thing is here is that this one's solid. The skirt itself is actually solid plastic, like it's not PVC or anything. So it does restrict it to some extent. However, the cloth in front, the white cloth areas in the front and the back are made out of soft PVC, so we are able to move it. And these are to some extent on a joint. However, I don't believe they are meant to be. Should we check on that? Yeah, they don't look like they're supposed to be removed, so I'll keep that on. And so you are able to move these around. It just does restrict the movement to some extent, and I'm not necessarily disappointed with that, but okay, to some extent, yes, I'm disappointed that you aren't able to move it. So there are a couple things with the armor that does restrict the movement and posability of the actual figure itself, but it's not all that bad. And you know, you have the center legs, but you know they are restricted by as far as the skirt will allow it to go. The feet are on a ball joint, so you can move them all around and rotate them. All somewhat painful. Okay, so I'm gonna pause the video for a second. Alright, continuing with the video, I'll show you a couple more things with the actual figure itself. Now, I tried to make a pose with this, and I'm going to tell you right now, it was really difficult to get it to stay and get it to move into certain poses, especially trying to get to stand. The hair is really restrictive. I mean, they tried to do it, and if you do want to pose, it's possible. It does have a lot of options. However, you need to perhaps plan it out how you're going to do it. The hair really gets in the way with the stand itself. It might be just because it's new and it's hard to insert, but it does fall a lot. Another thing is, I noticed I did try to pose it with this look, and I kind of like the way it looks right now, but that might be just me. The arms the hands are flimsy and it's really hard to keep in place. The only way to do is to get the armband, because there is a backing on the hand itself, and it's easier to do that if you can get it to get stuck on the back there. Otherwise, the hand's actually flimsy and I can't get it to stay in one position unless I get the hand back stuck up there. Now that could just be me, but I find that to be a bit of a flaw itself. I also want to mention that the shoulder pads are actually really nice with me for a bit, because they are actually on their own little joints, so it is easy to move around and move to an extent. Another thing that's also useful for posing, if you're trying to get the helmet part on, the part does come off, so you can easily remove this top, then put it on the head. Because if you just put it on and smack it back, it takes a while to put it in. So it's easy to do it that way. Now another thing I noticed is that the sword with the scabbard, readiness scabbard, the tip can come off. So if you want, you can just remove this part and then play around with the sword effect. Now what this is useful for is there is actually a hole here which actually can attach to the side. Now I wasn't planning to have Kenshin run around with the sword and the scabbard in her hand. That just makes absolutely no sense. So this makes for a good pose going over here this way. So you know the sword is in its sledge. Let's see if I can try to get this back in without having to take it back out of itself. So I have that, and it's a pretty cool pose in itself. And another thing people wanted to see was a pose with the rice ball, and I'll show you that in just a moment itself. Let me just see if I can get any other features out of the box that I can't even read. I think that's all I can really mention for that. So let's try to get another pose here. Alright, so here's another pose that I did. Like I said, the thing is not really. The Kenshin Figma is really honestly something that it's not easy to pose her because of how her hair gets in the way or how everything does. You know, it's a stand that you see Figmas with long hair. It's hard to pose, but honestly, the way they put it, it really restricts it, especially with all the extra armor and the skirt itself made from being complete out of plastic. So there's that. As for how the rice ball works, great by tapping on it. But it does fit perfectly in one of her hands, so it works really well. But I just did it better. I'm doing this on a rush because, like I said, I have to go in a bit. So her expression actually is different in this one. This one actually is blushing in this one. So there's that pose. When she's not doing some sort of action pose, the sword doesn't really do well because it interrupts with the way her arm works and her hair works. So you can't really insert it. If I try to take it up right now, it just doesn't stick. There's just no way you can insert it here without hitting the hair or something, because it doesn't even reach that far up. If I put it this way to the side, it still doesn't do anything, and no one has their sword backwards. They don't like go behind them and grab it. So this doesn't play nicely unless she does a specific pose, something like that. Alright, so in this pose, this actually makes use, and it's actually useful because the hair is, I push the hair back, so the sword scabbard is in a good place, and it's actually attached to the hip. Now the way I pose this is that the hand is grabbing actually to the removable sword piece, and it's there and it works pretty nicely. Now what you could do is remove this piece and then perhaps use a sword with a bit of a slash effect on it. For example, using the sword, which is pretty much the sword, with the actual GFX on here. So it's pretty interesting to do that. Now I do have a complaint that it might be hard to pose it with that, because I did find the arms to be a bit flimsy, and so they don't keep a static location. They either go too far forward or too far back, or back enough and not in the middle. So it's not really the best one, especially the right hand, her right hand at least. So this is probably the pose I'm going to keep it in when I put it back on the shelf. So we'll see how it works out, and it's all fun until I get mad annoyed. So my overall analysis of things, well articulated. The detail on every single piece is really nice, and despite she is the main character from the actual game, she was essentially one of the heroines from the previous one, and the other one's just all about heroines, so it doesn't really matter. It's really well articulated, and it's pretty nice that they're able to do a Figma for an Alisoft character. And I believe this is one of the first few ones that Guzman Company and Max Factory has done a Figma for an Irash character. Now, I may be wrong, I don't know too much about Figmas, but it'll be all great. So, should be well to complement my Ran figure, so it'll be all nice and fun with how I do that. So, that was my figure review and analysis of the Kenshin figure. My complaint, however, is posability is a bit restricted with the plastic skirt and the hair being so unusually articulated. Now, the hair is great, I'll tell you that. Like, each strand has its own joint, but it's just annoying to put the stand, and maybe your option is to put the stand in from the side. Now, just tilting it to the side and putting it there, because you really can't do it behind the hair, because the skirt falls back too far this way. So it's kind of hard to articulate the character without making unusual head gestures. And there are a couple of things that they did use that are helpful. I did notice that the shoulder joints are a bit hard to control, and the arms are a bit stiff, and I guess that's a good thing, but the hands aren't. The right hand, the grabbing hand, is restricted to only being too far forward or too far back, so that's my complaint for that. Otherwise, the Kenshin figure is a really great figure. It's one of the latest in their line, and I'd love to see more of their characters from the Alisoft games, so we'll see you guys soon, and hopefully my computer will come soon, so I'll be doing a review of that also. I'm Sharon, and you're watching Initiate ID Review.